Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Buck. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100k subscribers on the channel by the end of the year, so your subscription would be much appreciated. Holy shit, the Bulls are back. Not actually going to lead in with that take, although I just did, but you know, jokingly. The Bulls just played a fantastic game against the Miami Heat. For those of you who may be new around here, whenever I talk about the Chicago Bulls, it is way more in-depth than any other team just because I'm simply locked in for every moment and every second of the game. I'll be that way with playoff games sometimes, but I also I know I have a strong opinion about 13 players on the Bulls roster, which you can't say the same shit about other teams. It's just what comes from the passion of being a fan. Anyways, the Chicago Bulls played the Miami Heat yesterday. They played without Zach LaVine, obviously without Lonzo Ball, because Lonzo's probably not going to be back until like middle of the year, hopefully. But a fantastic overall performance from the Chicago Bulls. And the thing that stands out to me right out of the gate is the fact that they beat the team that was the first seed last year. That's the notable thing. Now, the fact that it's a home opener, you could argue that the Heat came out just a little bit rusty, but as a whole, I would say it's a positive sign that the Bulls, who could not get a win against a top-seeded team last year whatsoever, managed to beat last year's first seed in their home opener. First standout is obviously DeMar DeRozan. He had 37, 5, and like 9 assists, I think, on really good efficiency. He was just hitting shot after shot and one. Contested jump shots like they were nothing. Hit a 3 or 2 that was really big. And the one thing that I'll say that I really liked about the Bulls throughout this game is they stayed fairly consistent. You know, they started off really slow in the first quarter. Managed to make their way back off of the spark of Goran Dragic, who hit 4 threes in one quarter, one of which was a bonkers 3 where he like threw it up like he was trying to draw a foul, and then it just hit the rim, bounced up real high, and then dropped in. But overall, from that point, as soon as Dragic and the Bulls got it to like an 8-point lead or so, they pretty much hovered around there, sometimes getting up to like 15, 16, but were, you know, consistently seemed like they were in control of the situation. There was only a few moments in the game where I was like, come on guys, let's get this back together. And normally with the Bulls, and normally with most teams to be fair, it's peaks and valleys, and for the most part, consistent throughout. DeMar DeRozan is obviously the standout guy. Another one I want to point out is Ayo Dosunmu, who was really, really good in his debut as a starter. I believe a lot in that guy. I think a lot of people don't really know about Ayo, but he very much has the possibility to be the best, one of the best second-round picks out of this draft class. Right now, it's between him and Herb Jones. I'd say Herb has the slightest edge just because of how generational of a defender he is. But Ayo is also a great defender. He is a really good playmaker, a solid shooter, and a notably good slasher. A thing that I was saying to my dad, because I always watch Bulls games with my dad, talking about Ayo is like, this guy can drive. Like, whenever he goes to the rim, whenever he puts his head down and tries to get to the basket, good things happen. And to me, it's almost reminiscent of a take that I had when I was 14 years old, when I watched Jimmy Butler on the Chicago Bulls before he broke out into stardom in the 2013-14 season. His Most Improved Player year was the 14-15 season. The season prior, I was like, you know, every time Jimmy Butler drives to the rim, good things happen. Maybe Jimmy should start driving to the rim more often. And then next year, that's exactly what happened, and suddenly, star player. I'm seeing similar things with Ayo, where I'm like, that guy actually clearly possesses the skills of a slasher. It just needs to actually come to fruition, and he needs to realize it and, what's the word? Emphasize it. Go for it more, you know? Ayo's the other guy that stood out. Andre Drummond was cool. He had his ups and downs, but I think I'm actually really positive about that signing now. Dragic was really good, especially hitting those 4 3-pointers, but he was pretty steady throughout the whole game. And honestly, I feel like both of those signings, I didn't give them enough credit, you know? Ultimately, I think that's two good role players that they got for nothing. And two good guys who like can realistically be in a playoff rotation. That is worthwhile to have added to your team. You know, even if it's just that, it's still something. Talking about the Heat end of things, I will say this was an outlier game in terms of Kyle Lowry was terrible. In fact, I never went about actually checking the box score. I felt like Kyle Lowry shot the ball 10 times and missed all of them. But I'm going to go back and look at the box scores just to get an idea of if that's actually true or not. Let's see. Kyle Lowry, 2 points, 1 for 7 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3, multiple pull-up threes in the fourth quarter that I was like, one of those surely is going to drop, and then it just never did. They did get a really good game from Max Strus off of the bench, which kind of mitigated that, and Jimmy Butler was cool. Other guy, Bam Adebayo, missed layup, missed dunk, missed multiple mid-range shots. He probably made like 3 of the like 10 mid-range shots that he took, and he overall went 5 for 15. Also, Tyler Hero, electric in the first half, didn't really seem that impactful in the second. But I do think the Heat could have played better than that. I do think the Heat, in like if this is a playoff series, I think the Heat win a playoff series versus the Bulls, obviously. But it is noteworthy that the Bulls actually played so damn well against, again, the first seed. I'm not worried about the Heat. I don't think this is a reason to be worried. I don't think Bam going 5 for 15 in his first game is really a huge deal. It would be a huge deal if it happened regularly like it did in the Bucks series, but it's not happening in the regular season, I don't think. Kyle Lowry and the potential of him being washed is a little bit more of a concern. Jimmy Butler was, again, fine. But I do think there's no reason to be worried about the Heat. I think the main takeaway here should be optimism for the Bulls, not shitting on the Miami Heat. You know, talking about the rest of the Bulls like players, just to get into some more niche commentary, because really it was DeMar and Io that stood out. I can check the box score just to remind myself if there's somebody that I'm forgetting. But Vucevic was the other guy I wanted to talk about. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Kobe White missed a bunch of open threes, and that pissed me off. But Io DeSumo, 17, 6, 4, 2 steals, 7 for 14 from the field, 3 for 6 from outside. So he's the box score that I was referring to earlier. Vucevic, 15 and 17, but he shot below 40% from the field. Big Vucevic hater here, all right? I love to criticize Vuce, but I can say, you know, again, maybe it's the homer in me, but it felt like he played better than he normally does, because while he did miss a lot of shots, he also flowed within the offense correctly. There was no awkwardness to him there. And even though Andre Drummond made his impact when he was on the floor, the Bulls, when they started to lose it a little bit in the fourth quarter, when it got down to like a 4-point game or so, it was immediately mitigated when they subbed in Nikola Vucevic. That was like, as soon as he was in, as soon as the full starting lineup was in the game, it was like, okay, we have it from here. Because as much as Vooch might miss some of those open jump shots, he is also able to get an open shot all the time within the offense. And the screening, the value that he provides as a screener, you know, it'd be great if he could go back to being a 40% three-point shooter. It'd be great if he got better at hitting his inside looks. It'd be great if he got better positioning, because he took a lot of really far hook shots in this one. But so long as he's going to be the connector that he is on the offensive end, he ends up making his teammates better with his screens, with his playmaking, and with his, at least in theory, ability to stretch the floor as a big man. It would be nice if it was more than just in theory, but hey, not every team has that option to begin with. It's kind of like, you remember Marc Gasol on the Raptors when like they'd give him the three, and sometimes he'd make it, and it'd be cool. It almost feels like extra points. Whenever Nikola Vucevic makes a three, it feels like extra points. It feels like free points that, you know, normally you wouldn't get, because it's always open there, but it doesn't always go in, and often he'll pass up those shots. But when they're dropping, feels good. Feels like bonus points. But yeah, that's my takeaway, I guess. I'm just really happy. I don't have a whole lot of basketball analysis from this one. Patrick Williams, little worried about him, but that's a topic for another day. I might make a whole video on that. But yeah, that is it. Goodbye.